The door burst open so hard it slammed against the wall and echoed through the entire house. Ronica stumbled forward, her breath uneven, her heart pounding wildly as if it was trying to escape her chest. For a moment she didn't even understand what was happening. Just seconds ago, she had been standing inside that house, surrounded by decorations, smiling faces, and what she thought was going to be one of the happiest moments of her life. Now she was outside, pushed into the night air of Las Vegas, the warmth replaced by a cold that had nothing to do with the weather. "Get out of my house." The voice came again, sharp, loud, filled with a kind of hatred Ronica had never experienced so directly before. She turned slowly, her eyes wide, her body still trying to process the shock. Kuchiai's mother stood at the doorway, her face twisted in anger, her chest rising and falling with each breath. Ronica's hands trembled slightly as she clutched her bag. She felt something wet on her cheek, and only then realized that tears had already started to fall. Not loud, not dramatic, just silent tears of confusion and humiliation. "What are you still doing here?" the woman shouted again. "Didn't you hear me? We don't allow animals like you in this family." The word hit deeper than anything else. Animals. Ronica froze in place, unable to respond immediately. Her mind raced back just a few hours, trying to make sense of how everything had fallen apart so quickly. For months earlier, none of this existed. No pain, no humiliation, just a simple message that changed everything. It had been late at night when Ronica first saw his name pop up on her phone. Kuchiai. She almost ignored it at first, thinking it was just another random message. But something made her open it. It was simple. He had replied to one of her stories with a joke. She smiled. She replied. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. The conversation kept going. One message turned into 10. 10 turned into hours. Hours turned into days. They started sharing pieces of their lives, small things at first, favorite music, food, daily routines. But soon it became deeper. They talked about dreams, fears, childhood memories. They laughed a lot. The kind of laughter that makes you forget everything else. Kuchiai had a calmness about him. He wasn't loud or flashy. He listened more than he spoke, and when he did speak, it mattered. He remembered things Ronica said days ago, details that even her closest friends sometimes forgot. That alone made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt before. 3 months passed like that. Calls every night. Video chats that lasted until one of them fell asleep. They celebrated small things together, even though they were miles apart. Somewhere in those late-night conversations, without either of them saying it directly at first, they fell in love. By the 3rd month, it felt natural to say it. It didn't feel rushed. It felt like something that had been building quietly all along. So they made a decision. They would meet. Ronica was nervous but excited. She had imagined this moment so many times. What if he was different in person? What if the connection didn't feel the same? But deep down, she trusted what they had built. Kuchiai, on the other hand, had his own concerns. Not about Ronica, but about his family. He thought about telling them everything, about preparing them properly, but each time he tried, he held back. He convinced himself it wouldn't be a big deal. That love would be enough. That once they met Ronica, they would understand. So when he told them his girlfriend was coming to visit, he kept it simple. He didn't explain everything. His family reacted with excitement. His siblings teased him. His father smiled quietly. His mother seemed especially interested, asking questions about her name, her background, but nothing too deep. Kuchiai answered just enough to keep things moving. The day came faster than he expected. The house was full of energy. Decorations were set up. Food filled the kitchen. It felt like a celebration, like something good was about to happen. When Kuchiai finally picked Ronica up, his heart raced in a way it never had before. Seeing her in person for the first time made everything real. She was even more beautiful than he imagined, not just physically, but in the way she carried herself, the way she smiled, the warmth in her presence. For a moment, everything felt perfect, until they walked through that door. The silence was immediate and heavy, the kind that makes your skin tighten. Ronica felt it instantly, even before anyone said anything. She looked around, confused, trying to read the faces staring back at her. Then Kuchiai's mother spoke. "What is this?" Ronica didn't understand at first. She thought maybe she misheard. But then the words became clear. Sharp, direct, painful. "What is this black animal doing in my house?" Everything after that felt like a blur. The cake hitting her face. The shouting. The insults. The broom raised in anger. The moment she realized this wasn't just shock, it was rejection, deep and intentional. She ran because staying would have meant accepting that treatment, and she refused to do that. Now, standing outside, she felt a mix of emotions she couldn't even name properly. Hurt, anger, disappointment, but more than anything, betrayal. Kuchiyai came out moments later, calling her name softly, but she didn't turn immediately. When she finally did, her eyes were different. Not the same warmth he had fallen in love with. There was distance there now. "It's over," she said quietly. He tried to explain, but the words sounded empty even to him. She was right. He had known there could be a problem, and he chose not to face it honestly. "I won't fight to be accepted," she said. "Not like that." She walked away, and for the first time, Kuchiyai felt truly powerless. The days that followed were some of the hardest he had ever experienced. He tried everything, calls, messages, showing up, but nothing worked the way he wanted. Ronica didn't completely shut him out, but she wasn't the same. The trust had been broken. Each time she responded less, spoke less, showed less emotion, he felt the distance growing. He started to panic. Instead of thinking clearly, he let that fear control him. He believed that if he didn't act, he would lose her forever. And in that state of desperation, he made a decision that would change everything. He bought a gun. It wasn't about wanting to harm anyone. It was about control, about forcing a situation to go his way, because he didn't know how else to fix it. When he placed it on the table in front of his family, the entire atmosphere shifted. His mother, who had been so confident before, now looked uncertain. "You're going to apologize," he said. There was no anger in his voice. That was what made it more intense. It was calm, controlled, but firm. At first, his mother resisted, but fear has a way of changing people quickly. Within days, the apology came. It wasn't sincere, but it was enough to open the door again. Ronica hesitated, but she saw effort in Kuchiyai, and part of her still loved him deeply. So she gave it another chance. They got married quietly, without much celebration. It was more about commitment than anything else. But even as they moved forward, something felt off. Kuchiyai's mother acted differently. She smiled more, spoke kindly, treated Ronica with a level of respect that seemed almost too perfect. And that was the problem. It didn't feel real. Time passed, and while things seemed peaceful on the surface, tension still existed underneath. Kuchiyai noticed small things. Glances, moments of silence, a lack of genuine warmth. Then came the idea of the party. His mother presented it as a way to bring everyone together, to celebrate properly this time. Ronica was unsure, but Kuchiyai encouraged her. He wanted to believe things had truly changed. The night of the party, everything looked perfect. Music, laughter, food, people enjoying themselves. It was everything the first meeting should have been. But perfection can sometimes hide intention. In the middle of the celebration, Kuchiyai stepped into the kitchen and saw something that made his stomach drop. His mother stood near the counter, her back partially turned. In her hand was something small. She looked around carefully before pouring it into a bowl of ice cream. Kuchiyai didn't react immediately. He watched quietly, his mind trying to process what he had just seen. When she picked up the bowl and walked toward Ronica with a smile, something inside him shifted. He stepped forward just as Ronica was about to take it. "Wait," he said. The room fell silent again. He looked at his mother, his expression unreadable. "You're her elder," he said slowly. "You should eat first." For a moment, no one moved. His mother hesitated, trying to laugh it off, but Kuchiyai didn't back down. There was something in his eyes that made it clear this wasn't a suggestion. Reluctantly, she took a bite. The seconds that followed felt endless. Then everything changed. She collapsed. The room erupted into chaos, but Kuchiyai stood still, staring at the scene in front of him. Ronica was frozen, unable to fully understand what had just happened. In that moment, there was no victory, no satisfaction, just silence inside him. Because deep down, he knew the truth. He hadn't saved love. He had forced it. And now, everything came with a cost. Ronica slowly turned to him, her voice barely above a whisper. "What have we become?" And for the first time since all of this began, Kuchiyai had no answer. But it was not his fault. He tried to put the family together, but the end result was dreadful.